Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our first ever Lunch and Learn broadcast. My name is Brian Smith. I'm with the Missouri Rural Crisis Center. We're a statewide farm and rural organization. We've been around since 1985, and we fight for family farmers and rural communities. I'm also going to be joined on today's broadcast, kind of behind the scenes, by my colleague Jamie Blair from the Missouri Rural Crisis Center, and you may hear from her from time to time today. We're going to watch a video that was put together by Poosey Neighbors United, a group of concerned citizens up in Livingston County who are fighting a CAFO trying to move in less than 2 miles from the Poosey Conservation area. We're going to be joined by Doug Doty from one of the leaders of Poosey Neighbors United. You'll also see him in this video today. And we'll talk to him. And also we have a couple of really cool wildlife biologists, Ethan Duke and Dana Ripper, who are going to share their expertise with us today on this topic. And so the video today is going to last about 8 minutes, and we're going to start that momentarily. If you have questions or comments, if you've never done Facebook Live before, simply put your questions and comments, in the comments section. You should see, the area to do that, and we'd love to hear from you. We'll do a discussion with a couple of quick questions, and then we'll turn it over to your questions towards the end of the program. And we want, once again, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And now we'll go ahead and get the video started.
Welcome to the Poosey Conservation Area. It includes 5,863 acres of timber, hills, grasslands, streams, and freshwater springs, purchased and maintained with Missouri tax dollars. Here you'll discover the 192-acre Indian Creek Lake, the 18-acre Pike's Lake, as well as 9 additional ponds. Poosey is located in Livingston and Grundy County in Missouri, where visitors from all over can enjoy hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, picnicking, horseback riding, nature study, bird watching, miles of walking trails, biking trails, and so much more. That's why this beautiful park is also known as the Kingdom of Poosey. George Dockery and his wife Patsy were among the first settlers in 1835. The countryside where they built their log cabin resembled their native land so much they named it after the Poosey region in Kentucky. More settlers soon arrived, and by 1900, this was the Kingdom of Poosey. Nicknames like Hogskin Holler, Lost 40, Mushroom Gap, Fusty's Ridge, Dogtown, and Panther Den are legendary.
Those early settlers and the Native American Indians before them left a conservation mindset that is still here today. Poosey connects people with the outdoors, but sometimes a natural area needs help to remain a place where people and nature can thrive.
The Poosey neighborhood is being threatened with exploitation. Exploitation from a large swine CAFO, perhaps many CAFOs, which stand for Confined Animal Feeding Operations. That includes buildings the size of football fields, filled with confined animals producing as much waste as small cities. Untreated waste, unregulated emissions of ammonia, methane, and hydrogen sulfide. Let's hear what some of the neighbors have to say.
Hey, this is Brent Klein, and I'm part of the Green Hills Trail Association, and I'm up here at the Poosey Conservation Area. I'm going to tell you what goes on here. For 20 years, there's been trail building that's led to this area being a real destination. As you can see, fishing, hunting, climbing, hiking, running, bicycling, picnics, football. It's a park area. It is a public use area. And this is so close to the potential CAFO site that it's not even funny. It would be devastating on this area. And the thing is, this area has become a destination for people. This is known all over everywhere, and people come here to enjoy this area. Locally, yes, but way outside of the area, it is a well-known area. And so for those reasons, and because of the air quality that would be created here, the flies, the gnats, and things that could potentially go on so close to a public use area, I certainly am recommending that you join the fight against the proposed CAFO.
We have lived on this property for over 55 years. My husband has disabilities that he cannot go hunting and fishing like he used to, but this is the scene that we see from the house that he enjoys so much. And we see wild animals out here all the time. That's the only way he can enjoy outside now, is to sit out and watch. If that CAFO goes in, we're going to have smell, we're going to have flies, and we're going to have noise, and it's going to ruin our retirement.
Amy and I built this house 6 years ago. Two major concerns with CAFOs coming into our area: our health, our children's health, and our neighbors' health. The second one being our county roads, our gravel roads, and our asphalt highways. The MoDOT does not have the resources or the money to repair.
We started Tabletop Farms about 3 years ago here on my family farm. Established in 1917, we are a century farm. We grow produce here. We are an organic-based system. We have forest-raised pork. We have chickens on pasture. We have cattle on pasture. We have egg layers on pasture. Within a few thousand feet or less, we have hog operation, and that's going to be close to this facility that's potentially going to go in. And we have health concerns within our hog operation. The fly load that is potential to our cattle may be detrimental as well. We have individuals that visit the farm for our weekly CSA boxes to pick up produce and to come out and just visit for their enjoyment. The odor that may be caused from a facility like this would be detrimental to our business here on the farm.
Hi, I'm Doug Long, and I'm representing the Green Hills Trail Association. This is an area where we come out and we recreate and just enjoy nature, enjoy the scenery, and enjoy all the neat landscapes and all that the Poosey Conservation area that allows us to have. Our biggest concerns, if we have a CAFO coming to the area, is the amount of traffic we'll have on our roads. Also, the odors that may end up coming into the area. We'd actually like to not see that in this area.
Hello, my name's Patty Gillum, and we are at the Green Acres Therapeutic Riding Center. We have about 50 riders that come out once a week. We work with many different disabilities. Coming to Green Acres and getting to ride the horses and interact with my staff is the highlight of their week. I am very concerned about the potential CAFOs that are going into this area. If this happens, the air quality will be so bad that most of my clients would not even be able to be outside. If we could just keep our Livingston County health ordinance as it is and avoid them coming, it would be a wonderful, wonderful thing.
As you can see, the Poosey area means a great deal to many of us. Here it is, just as Native Americans experienced it. It hasn't changed much. In fact, legend has it that Daniel Boone, Joseph Rubidoux IV were in the area in the early 1800s. Daniel Boone hunting and trapping. Joseph Rubidoux IV was here as a part of his fur trading company, Black Snake Trading Post, that later became St. Joseph, Missouri. Both of them likely came across this Native American trail tree. Tree formed as a sapling by hand by Native Americans. As it grew, it later became a signpost that guided them through the area.
Other states and areas have seen the long-term negative effects of the industrial-sized CAFOs to the environment. Arkansas recently closed an industrial hog farm and will prohibit large-scale confined animal feeding operations in one of their historic watersheds, the Buffalo National River.
You can experience it too, just as those Native Americans and early settlers experienced it. Your tax dollars preserve this and now maintain it. It's not a playground for special interest that intend to blight the area. It's up to us Missourians to safekeep our access to the past and our natural landscape.
All right, fantastic video there put together by the Poosey Neighbors United group. And so now, to give you a little background on this, the Poosey Conservation Area is in northwest Livingston County, 6 miles southeast of Jamesport, 9 miles northeast of Lock Springs, and 12 miles southwest of Trenton, and 13 miles northwest of Chillicothe. The Conservation Department purchased the original 814-acre tract for Poosey Conservation Area in 1979, and additional purchases have increased the area size to 5,863 acres. And so we're going to turn now to Doug Doty, who was one of the prominent players in this video, and heard from him quite a bit in there. And he's with Poosey Neighbors United. And so, Doug, with a CAFO moving in, with less than 2 miles away from the Poosey Conservation area, as someone who lives there and who partakes in the Poosey Conservation area, can you describe it and what all it has to offer, and also the halo effect that it has on the surrounding community, and the threat that industrial agriculture and CAFOs pose to that if they start moving in?
I sure can, Brian, and thanks for the introduction, and hello, everyone. First, I'd just like to say that the idea for the video actually came from another a Poosey neighbor, Susan Fair, and Susan enjoys all the benefits of Poosey Conservation Area, the trails, and the nature watching, and just the interacting with the diverse group of people that use Poosey Conservation Area. For a little perspective, Susan, whenever we discussed what we would do with the video, we kind of came up with a history / call to action sort of theme, and of course you saw the note to the 1830s when Poosey was more or less founded by the early settlers, but let's go back to the 1970s and 80s. When public lands became very important and a key issue in Missouri, and there were a couple of things that happened. The 1/8 cent sales tax was passed by the Department of Conservation, passed by Missouri voters, and the 1/10 cent sales tax, which money goes for state parks and soil conservation. Missouri was not a leader at that time in public lands and state parks, and today, all across the state of Missouri, there are other areas like Poosey Conservation and state parks for the benefit of all Missourians. And that soil conservation tax also was very important. At the time, Missouri was number 2 in the nation in soil loss. And today they have more than cut that soil loss in half, and Missouri is now the envy of the nation when it comes to state parks and reducing soil erosion. And I'd like for you to think about the conservation areas and the state parks as having a halo effect on the entire state of Missouri. Each Poosey Conservation Area, and there are several hundred of them scattered across Missouri now, and the state parks, they enhance environmental conditions in all areas around them, and it's just been a wonderful thing for the state of Missouri. And these programs and these conservation areas and the state parks are widely supported by Missouri voters. And the 1/10 cent sales tax is something that has a sunset on it. And every 10 years, it goes before the vote of the people. And every 10 years, at least 2/3 of Missourians support that tax. So Missouri has a lot of things going for it when it comes to our natural habitat and preserving nature in Missouri. One thing I'd like you to consider is to contrast that with the halo effect of an industrial size CAFO. And the halo effect of an industrial size CAFO would be odor. It would be ammonia. It would be methane. The halo effects makes the neighbors within that few thousand feet, it makes them expendable. They're the ones that are going to have to endure the odor and the potential ammonia, the hydrogen sulfide, the methane, the threat to their health. Also consider the highways and the county roads. The asphalt highways in Missouri are not engineered to handle heavy truck traffic. And Route A and Route Y and Route W are not in great shape now. There's no shoulder, and Missouri Department of Transportation does not have the funds to adequately care for these roads. And now we have the threat of a proliferation of CAFOs coming into the area and threatening emergency services and school buses and deliveries and just the residents going back and forth from work. So think about the positive effects of the halo effect of conservation areas and state parks, and then think about the halo effects of industrial size CAFOs. We maintain we are not ready. We do not have the resources to accommodate that. And so when we give a big no to industrial size CAFOs.
Thank you very much, Doug. And that's a lot of great information on that. Turning now to Ethan Duke and Dana Ripper. They are both wildlife biologists who've been very active working around the state on issues like this. And over the last few years, they've started becoming very active in opposing the advance of concentrated animal feeding operations, CAFOs, and industrial agriculture into areas like this. So Ethan and Dana, as wildlife biologists, obviously a lot of your concerns center around animal habitats, clean water, and just really the general ecology of these areas. Yep. Could you go into that and how CAFOs moving not just in the Poosey area but statewide pose a threat and what some of the consequences could be?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us on. We really appreciate you at the Missouri Rural Crisis Center for giving a voice to our neighbors, our family farmers, our communities. We identify with that struggle because they're not often heard. Neither are our fish, forest, and wildlife. So thanks for this venue. Yeah, these things are common that the fish, forest, and wildlife and all the critters face are similar to what humans face. The water quality issues. I mean, it's just not a natural system to have that kind of outputs going on out there. And of course, it's going to create lots of pollution. And there's no way around it. I mean, it's going to emanate air pollution. It's going to affect water quality. And those things are going to affect the fisheries and all the things that wildlife depend on, just as it's going to affect the humans. Mm-hmm. So there's everything from just the concentration of that amount of effluent, plus the addition of antibiotics and chemistry within the animals and within their feed that enter our water systems, and it's going to definitely impact fish and wildlife. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's our concerns.
I'd like to add really quick that we are very excited to be part of this conversation because human health issues have been the most studied and the most talked about, and obviously that's a primary concern. I don't think that wildlife and fisheries resources have been as much a part of the conversation about CAFOs, and they probably should be. What research is out there is pointing towards problems with fisheries and potentially in wetland systems that are close to CAFOs, potential issues for waterfowl as well. So as far as we as recreationists, whether that's hunters or fishermen or hikers, it's really important that I feel as a wildlife community, we need to be aware of these issues, be talking about them, and be working with folks like you all at the Crisis Center and folks like in Livingston County to try and really mitigate or stop, or at the very least, try and find some solutions. And there might not be any really good solutions other than not having such operations close to our public lands, our recreational lands, or our family farms that are concerned about this.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Ethan and Dana. And so, again, as I mentioned at the top, we welcome your questions in this, and you can just type them right into the comments area there on Facebook or on YouTube, and we can get to those. I had a follow-up question for Doug. Some people may wonder, about when a CAFO is attempting to move into your community, what do you do? And one thing that's really been nice to see in Livingston County is how Poosey Neighbors United, like several other communities in Missouri, has really gotten together, and gotten organized in terms of trying to fight this and use the means available to them. Could you share some of your experience in working with your neighbors, informing Poosey Neighbors United and also informing the larger community around you?
Well, we started off with a couple of public meetings, and we've emphasized letters to the editor, and we've also been to several commissioner meetings, and we have a couple of people that are at every commission meeting now, and watching what they do regarding the health ordinance. And so it's just been we stay in touch with emails, and we just continue to press on.
Okay, thank you, Doug. And Ethan and Dana, I'm going to pose that same question to you in terms of working with different groups and different communities. What has been your approach in terms of getting the word out and educating folks?
Go ahead.
I think that we're still, in some cases, in more of the beginning stages of that. There's definitely entities within the wildlife conservation community that are concerned about these issues and are working on them. I think we're all moving towards a little bit more of a cohesive approach and sort of expanding our partnerships with other organizations that can be effective, like community groups.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. And so one question that I saw was, given that we're facing this COVID-19 crisis, and this can go to either of you, what has changed in this era of COVID-19 in terms of even possibly raising the stakes of this fight?
Big question.
Yeah, I mean, all the literature, if you review and look at the literature on, the effects of CAFOs environmentally, it's very similar to dealing with the situation we're dealing right now with COVID. And it's teaching us we have to keep our eyes open, we have to monitor, we have to prevent, we have to look out for these things. And these CAFOs are a perfect incubator for those types of resistant strains and zoological strains of viruses to get out there and affect our health and affect wildlife as well. So I mean, it's a perfect example of it's bringing the public attention to something that's known out there now with the current events that can be applied to this situation. Yeah.
If I might.
And Doug,
Brian,
did you have anything to add to that? Oh, I'm sorry, Dana. Dana.
No worries. Doug, go, please.
No, go ahead. I think Ethan did well.
Okay,
one of
Dana?
the positive things that is occurring, it's a scary, horrible situation, but one of the positive things that we've seen occurring is that many people for physical and mental health right now during the COVID crisis are getting outdoors, and they're using public areas, whether it's parks, conservation areas, state parks, their own backyard, their street, their city park, whatever. And they're really coming to realize the importance of good, healthy natural ecosystems to our own mental and physical health. So I think hopefully that is something that we can carry forward into the future and really understand that those things have great value.
Okay, great point.
Conservation areas
and, I want to thank.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
So I just wanted to thank all of you, all three of you, for joining this broadcast, sharing your experience, expertise with everyone, because this is a fight that it has been taking place across the state and will continue to take place across the state. And it's citizens like Doug Doty and people who take action in a really wide sense, like Ethan and Dana, that are key, to protecting our environment, protecting our communities, protecting our family farms and in rural economies. And so I want to thank all three of you for taking part in this. And now we're going to move to a call to action. Thank you all three. So now we're moving. We're at a very key time. And so we have some key action steps that you can take. Everyone needs to get involved. And we always encourage people to step up and take action in their communities, in the state legislature, and in a wide number of ways. And so, in terms of what you can do today, one thing you can do is we are circulating a CAFO moratorium petition, in which we are calling on Governor Mike Parson to instruct Department of Natural Resources, DNR, from approving any more CAFO permits. For those who may not understand this or have known anything about this, our state DNR standards are extremely weak, completely ineffectual, and do nothing to protect our communities, from these CAFO operations and the negative consequences they can bring. And so, we are encouraging folks to sign this petition. There should be a link in the comments where you can go to that. Please sign it, share it with your friends, because to add insult to injury, not only are our state DNR standards weak to begin with, well, they are using COVID-19 and the state of emergency as an excuse to relax the regulations on CAFOs even further, at least through June 15th. And so in that environment where they are not even going to enforce the weak rules they have, they should not be approving any more CAFO permits until the COVID-19 situation gets under control, and also until we can get some stronger state standards. And so please take advantage of that. Click that link. Copy and paste it, share it with your friends, family, and neighbors. Now, another thing you can do is we are in the final week of the 2020 legislative session. And yes, they are trying to make laws in the midst of all of this. And they had promised when they came back a couple of weeks ago that they were just coming back to pass the budget and also to do some COVID-19 relief style bills, to help Missourians, deal with this crisis in our communities. Well, instead, they've spent the vast majority of their time building large omnibus bills, which are collections of bills that of numerous bills crammed into one bill. And so they have a couple of bad bills: Senate Bill 644 and Senate Bill 617. One bill has language that would not allow local county commissions or health boards to follow up on complaints of CAFOs violating health ordinances. They would not be allowed to investigate these complaints at the property. There's another piece of language that is really outrageous that would take away the power of local health boards to do basically anything, stripping them of their power in the middle of a pandemic and put them into a strictly advisory role to county commissions and really create extra hurdles to them being able to deal with emergencies and outbreaks and that sort of thing. And so we're encouraging folks to call their state senator and their state legislator and encourage them to vote no on Senate Bill 644 and Senate Bill 617. And so those are two action items you can take today. And we encourage everyone to do so. And finally, we want to encourage everyone to get involved with us. If you want to stay, up to date on these issues, please like and follow us on Facebook. You can find us under Missouri Rural Crisis Center on Facebook if you're on YouTube right now. And also, please like and subscribe to our YouTube page. You can search Missouri Rural Crisis Center and find that. And in fact, there are there should be some information and comments about that as well. And finally, go to our website, Missouri Rural Crisis Center, www.morural.org, and sign up to get involved. And that's where you will get information about what's going on, and most importantly, what you can do, to get involved in this fight. And so finally, I want to thank all of our guests for joining us today. I want to thank Jamie Blair, my colleague, for her assistance today. And most of all, I want to thank all of you for joining us. We're going to be doing more online events in the future, lunch and learns, and plus other activities. And so please stay tuned. And so for the rest of us here at Missouri Rural Crisis Center, thank you. Have a great day.